Hey everyone, this is Nico from Licks of the Beast. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about these two Jackson Adrian Smith signature models. We have the SDX and the SDXQ. Both of these are import models made in Indonesia. So I'm going to tell you about their technical specs. I'm going to talk to you about their pros and cons, the modifications that I've made to both these guitars, and of course I'm going to play a few riffs and licks for you so you can hear how they sound. The SDX comes in this beautiful polar white finish with black pickguard and black hardware. The SDXQ comes in a trans green finish with a quilted maple top, white pickguard, and black hardware. Both bodies are made of basswood, and both models come with a maple neck which features jumbo frets, rolled fingerboard edges which make playing really smooth, and a 12 to 16 inch compound radius, so that the neck is a little bit less flat here by the headstock to make playing chords a little bit easier, and then it becomes progressively more flat as you move up the fretboard so that it makes playing fast single note lines a little bit easier. These guitars come equipped with a Floyd Rose Special double locking tremolo system. The Special is Floyd Rose's more economical version of the German-made original. The design and features are the same, but the differences are going to be in the country of manufacture. These are made in Korea or China, and the materials used in some of their components. For example, the saddles and the sustain block are zinc alloy instead of steel and brass respectively. This is by no means a bad tremolo system. I think they play just fine. And you can find these in more expensive guitars as well, like Fender's new HM Strat reissue, which uses the same Floyd Rose Special, and the guitar costs twice what these go for. The stock pickups are made by Jackson to what they claim are Adrian Smith's personal specifications. You have a high output humbucker in the bridge, followed by two single coil pickups in the middle and the neck position. There's a 5-way selector switch and a master tone and master volume control. Overall, these guitars are very well made, and I feel like Jackson is giving us a lot of value for the price. They look and feel like quality instruments, and they're actually really nice to play. That being said, I do feel like their overall level of quality control could be a little bit better. For example, these guitars have nearly identical specs, but they actually play like very different guitars. The neck on this white SDX is a little bit more chunky and also a little bit softer and smoother. It also feels like a higher quality piece of wood was used to make this neck. The neck on the SDXQ is a little bit thinner, but also a little bit more stiff, and it seems to react a little bit more to temperature changes. I've had it for about 6 months, and I've already had to take it twice to my luthier for really bad buzzing up here by the headstock. The last time was about 2 weeks ago, and he told me that it's a good thing these guitars come with a dual action truss rod, or the neck might have been permanently damaged. Another issue with the SDXQ was that the high E string kept slipping off the fretboard even with fairly light pressure. Now, from looking at reviews and comments on forums, it looks like this is a fairly common problem with these guitars. Fortunately, there's a very easy fix for this, and I'll discuss that when I talk about the modifications. The stock pickups are pretty good for a guitar of this price point, even though they don't offer a very wide dynamic range or a lot of tonal flexibility. The high output humbucker is a little bit harsh, but I think it does a pretty good job. The two single coil pickups are a little bit dull, but for this kind of guitar, they're just fine. And overall, I think these three pickups are more than adequate for an intermediate guitar player. mentioned, Jackson has given us really good value with these guitars. They're quite good right out of the box, and with a few small changes, you could end up with an instrument that plays and sounds as good, if not better, than guitars that cost twice as much. Now let's look at some of the modifications that I've made to both these guitars, starting with the SDXQ. As I was saying earlier, I had an issue with this one where the high E string would slip off the fretboard. To fix that, I simply replaced the stock R3 nut with an R2, which is 1.5 millimeters shorter. This keeps the strings perfectly aligned within the fretboard and keeps them from slipping off. So it's a fairly inexpensive mod, and it takes a few minutes to do. A common issue with the Floyd Rose Special is that the trem arm and coupling are a little bit more flimsy than their German-made counterpart. So even after you tighten it securely, it'll start to come loose after a few minutes of playing, and when you go reach for the tremolo, it's no longer where you wanted it to be. So it's not the end of the world, but it could be a little bit annoying. So what I did is I just changed the trem arm and coupling to a German-made original kit, and now the trem is always exactly where I need it to be. It's a very inexpensive mod, and it only takes a few minutes to do, and it makes a very big difference in the performance of the trem. The only other thing I changed on this one is I upgraded the bridge pickup to a DiMarzio Super Distortion for that classic Iron Maiden sound. The difference is significant, and the guitar really comes to life with this pickup. The sound is more present, more full, with more clarity and more definition. It's a really big improvement over the original. I didn't feel any need to change the single coil pickups on this one, as I knew that for the way I'd be using this particular guitar, the bridge pickup was all I'd really need, and the neck pickup was just fine for the times I would be using it. Now let's look at the modifications I made to the white SDX. So because I liked the feel of this guitar a little bit more, I wanted to make it a little bit more versatile. So for that reason, I opted to change all three pickups, and I went with all Seymour Duncans to keep it consistent. The bridge pickup is a TB4JB pickup, which is exactly what Adrian uses in his green guitar. His white ones get the Super Distortion, and I basically just did the opposite. The middle pickup is a classic stack, and the neck pickup is a vintage hot stack. The TB4JB is great for playing anything from heavy blues to heavy metal. It's got a really nice crunch sound, but it's also got a lot of depth and warmth to it. The two single coils have that Fender-like sparkle, but because they're not actual single coils, but they're stacked pickups, they're dead quiet, and that's really good when you're playing with higher gain. Now I will say that despite its name, the vintage hot stack isn't really all that hot, so it will make you work harder, and it will be a lot less forgiving of imperfections in your playing than a higher output pickup. I just wanted something that had a little bit more character and a little bit more depth than a regular Super Strat, so I'm really happy with this one. Now for some final thoughts on both these guitars. And I'll preface this by saying that I'm normally used to playing a little bit higher end instruments. My main guitars are a Fender American Deluxe Fat Strat, a Gibson SG Standard, a Fender American Performer Telecaster, a vintage Japanese-made Ibanez Destroyer, and a Lado 2, which was a boutique guitar made here in Canada. Now, of course, I wouldn't compare these two Jacksons to the guitars I just mentioned, also because they easily cost 3 times as much, if not more. I just thought it would be interesting to mention for context and to give you a little bit of background of where I'm coming from and what I'm used to playing. When I first got these guitars, I just thought that they would look cool for my Iron Maiden covers. I honestly didn't expect very much, especially because they're a quarter of the price of the US models. Now, after owning them for about 6 months, I have to say that I'm quite pleasantly surprised, and I do find myself playing them quite a bit, especially this white SDX. After the mods that I made to it, I find that it holds up actually quite well to my other guitars. It doesn't feel like a premium guitar, but it does feel like a very high quality, well-made instrument that I actually enjoy playing quite a lot. The neck and fingerboard are really nice, especially with the rolled edges. It's really smooth to play on. It stays in tune really well, and the Floyd Rose is a pleasure to use. With the Seymour Duncan pickups, I can get a really wide variety of really good sounds, and the guitar itself looks gorgeous. So to summarize, I would say that if you're in the market for a super strat style guitar in this price range, or if you've had your eye on this model specifically because you're a fan of Adrian Smith, I would recommend you check one of these out. They're really good out of the box, and with a few small mods, you can have a really great playing and great sounding guitar. I've included a list of all the mods that I made to both these guitars with links in the description, so you can check that out. Alright, well that's it for now. I really hope this video was informative and useful. If you have any questions at all, or if there's anything I left out, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all soon with more Licks of the Beast.